Welcome, Nikki. Hello, hello. Nikki, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in the Love Yourself Journey group, how you ended up in the LoYo Method coaching program mentorship, and take it away.
Yeah. So I ended up in the Love Yourself Journey group initially. I had actually found you through a podcast that you did, loved what you had to say, and found you, I believe, on Facebook first. And just everything you were saying in there resonated with me. I am a mom of 3. I work full time. My job isn't overly stressful, but my personal life with 3 boys all running different directions, just trying to find that balance. So a lot of what you were saying with the stress and the busy life and busy mama really resonated with me. Also, I am a huge was a huge emotional eater, cravings, chocolate, all the things, coffee even. And yeah, that's really what drew me in. I knew I needed to change that.
Okay, so what type of challenges were you experiencing before we started working together, and kind of how long were you on that journey for?
Yeah, so balance was a huge problem for me, putting myself first. I never did. Everybody came before me. Losing weight was a piece of it. I've been I was probably at my lowest weight since high school, right before I had my son, who's now 12, and felt really great. I was running a lot. I was doing Weight Watchers. I was super successful. Had my first child and got pregnant and felt, oh, I can eat whatever I want. Gained 80 pounds. Had him, lost 30, got pregnant again, gained another 30 to 50 pounds. Like, I'm only 5 feet tall. I have nowhere to go but out with the baby. And I never lost the weight after my 3rd one, just probably what he weighed inside me. So really just my confidence and self-esteem was really low, because I knew what I felt like prior to having the kids. And I felt really ashamed of who I was after having them. So yeah, it's probably been all my life, definitely on the weight loss journey, but just most recently, like the last 12 years, just trying anything and everything to actually lose the weight.
What did you try to get to your goals, and what did you find difficult about that?
Just, it wasn't sustainable, everything we talk about in the program, and I needed to change my actual mindset. That was the real problem. I always thought it was the weight, because self-confidence wise, I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel, like myself. Had never been that heavy in my life. And it felt frustrating to me that it would work for a little bit and then I would gain it right back. Like I would like have that high and then immediate low, like within 6 months, I'd gain the weight back because I couldn't sustain constant tracking of the food. I just wanted to live my life. I didn't want to have to worry about what I was putting in my mouth, but I felt like crap on top of it. I had extreme bloating and back pain. There were times where I wouldn't even eat supper because I knew that the bloating would make me feel so terrible that I didn't want to go through it. So I would skip supper knowing like at nighttime is when I would have the worst bloating. I don't have any of that anymore. I don't have any of the bloating. I don't have any of the pain, back pain since I've had 3 C-sections. I have had back pain since I've had the first C-section, and I don't have any of that anymore. So
I would definitely want to talk about your wins and successes. I'm curious when you came to the realization that you said, I needed to change my mindset. What made you realize that? And, what did you do about it?
I would say probably a year and a half ago, I decided like I needed to change my mindset around food because I was actually hospitalized they thought my appendix was bursting. But when they went in there, it looked inflamed, but not to the point where the doctor wanted to take it out. And I was like, that is it. Like, I've got to change this. And I think initially that's when my mindset, I was like, I need to change my mindset around food. I can't let it continue to control my life. And then I actually started to educate myself, and I have my
How,
nutrition.
I'm so sorry. I want to cut you off just because I want to know, like, how was it controlling your life?
How was food controlling my life? I was an emotional eater, good or bad. So something good happened, I would reach for sugar, carbs. Something bad happened, same. Like I am notorious, or was notorious. See, I still even talk like that. I was notorious for having the huge Sam's Club M&M, peanut butter M&Ms in my pantry, and one handful is fine. But it was one handful. It started to be one handful multiple times a day. Like, I was a huge Diet Pepsi drinker. I loved it. I tried Diet Pepsi probably like the first time in a year and a half, a couple months back. And I was like, I spit it out. It was terrible. I couldn't even like swallow it. It tasted so much like chemicals.
Big Diet Coke drinker right here for so many years. And those were on my healthy years when I was trying my best to get healthy. Big Diet Coke drinker. Oh yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Cool. So sorry, continue. And you went back to school.
Yep, went back to school, got my nutrition certificate, but I was still missing something. Because yes, there was a piece of that training that gave me the emotional eating side of it, but that's where it really started to pique my interest of like, I am an emotional eater, and kind of like identify with that and call it out. Like, that's my problem. Like, I need to change that mindset and need to change that emotional. And I didn't have the childhood trauma of something happened and I'm holding on to it. Like, I didn't have that I could remember. I had a pretty, what I would say, a pretty normal childhood. Parents are still married. Like, I have one sister. I don't have a lot going on in my life. Like, so I kept trying to relate back to that because that's all I heard people ever talk about. And I was like, I don't have that. So I was searching and searching and searching. And I finally realized, like, I just need to be okay with myself. Like, it's my own issues with myself. It's not what anybody else maybe put on me at some point. It's what I was putting on myself. So really changing my mindset around that. And once I got in the program, I started to resonate with the videos that you show in there. And it was helpful to me because you said, like, okay, you know the nutrition side of it, skip those chapters for now and go back. Like, that's not where you need to focus. You need to focus on the mindset and the emotional eating. And immediately after I started doing that, I realized, like, that's what I need to change. It's not even about the weight anymore. Like, yeah, cool, it'd be nice to lose some weight, but that's not my main goal right now. I need to be happy with myself, and the weight will eventually come off. So that's where I started to kind of change my perception around that mindset and the emotional eating.
So why did you come and work with us in the LoYo Method, in our mentorship? What stood out from you, perhaps, that is different here from maybe other things that you were looking into, or other things that maybe you weren't looking into?
Yeah.
Or other things that you've done before?
Yeah. I thrive in situations where I can feel supported, because even though, yes, my husband is supportive, like, I want you to be happy because if you're happy, I'm happy. But I knew I needed to be around other people that were experiencing the same issues, because if I explained to my husband, like, oh my gosh, like, I want to eat this because this something really great happened. Like, he doesn't get that. He doesn't have that mentality. He can eat the crap and still be skinny, which is kind of irritating, but I needed that community and that support group to be around other people. So I'm the type of person where I tend to sit back and listen a little bit. I may have a question running through my head, but I might not step up and ask it immediately. So in this group, it was nice that all these other women were experiencing the same things I was, maybe in a different capacity, but I could resonate with every single thing everybody was saying. And I may not have asked the question, but maybe somebody else did. And I was like, oh, thank God, I'm so glad they asked that question. Like, I remember having one of the homeworks and I was like, initially I skipped it because I was like, I don't know what to put there. Like, I don't know. But then I think it was like 2 weeks later, somebody else was on that lesson and they're like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what to put there. And I was like, thank the Lord, because I didn't ask the question because I was like, I don't want to feel stupid. Like, why am I not getting this? But that other person asked the question and I was like, thank you. And like, I am her and I was like, thank you for asking. Like, I've been sitting on this for 2 weeks because I didn't want to ask the question, not of like shame from the group, but just shame for myself. Like, why am I not getting this? So I would say like, yes, Weight Watchers has that support group. I don't even know if they're still doing it. They may have quit that after COVID. I'm not even sure. And it was helpful at that time in that stage of my life, but this is way more intimate. And the fact that we have that one-on-one time to ask questions with you in that group setting is helpful as well. I would say that's one of the most helpful pieces out of this whole program for me personally, to have that connection and for you to push me, because that's what I need. Because like, oh, I can do this myself, but who's going to push me when all those thoughts start creeping in? Like, you can't do this, or, you know, those inner critic thoughts. Like, I needed you to push me.
I say it all the time. Nothing good, but nothing productive comes from the comfort zone, right? There always has to be a little bit of discomfort in your life or fear in your life. And that's courage. Courage is fear, discomfort, and leaping in anyway. Or if you don't want to leap, you can like dip a toe. You know, that's what we do. We do imperfect action. So, you know, leap or dip a toe, one toe at a time. But either way, you're moving forward, even if you're scared, even if you have nervousness, even if you're uncomfortable, because what is the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
You make a positive change. That's literally the worst that's going to happen. You feel a little uncomfortable. You feel a little scared. And so that's awesome. Were you nervous? Like, were you scared? What hesitations did you have before you came and joined us?
So, you know, for me, I've tried all the things, and like I said, I've had success, but I've also had failures with it. Like, oh, great. Am I going to spend money and not be successful? And I think that's a common fear people have, because it's investing in ourselves. And if I'm going into the program not even believing in myself, how am I going to invest the money to believe in myself? So I think it was important to me to be open-minded, that, and setting those expectations early. Like, yes, I want to lose the weight. I could maybe go through this program and not lose weight. Like, my expectation is to change my mindset around eating. That is one of the biggest things you talk about in that mastery class. And that's what I then watched once I found you. And I knew I had to go in with an open mindset about that. And that's what I knew I needed to do next in my journey. So I don't know if I can't remember if I was nervous or not, just about failing probably. But I'm also, a couple weeks back, if you look at that training, one of those trainings, I get nervous to be successful too. Like, people have fear of failure. I have fear of failure and fear of success. I'm great in my comfort zone. But I think like I needed to be pushed to say like, it's okay to feel successful. Like, it's okay to be confident. And I needed that community support and those women to start hearing some of their stories too. Like, okay, they were successful in that too. Okay, like I can tell.
Yeah, there's an aspect of fear of success because you're changing your status. And so then it becomes, well, if I change, even for the better, you know, I feel better in myself. I feel confident. I feel this, I feel that, and it's all positive. You're changing your status. So therefore, will people look at me differently? Will people judge me? Will people change? You know, like it is a scary thought, because either way it's change, and change is always scary. We don't get around that. That is just a human reaction. Change is scary. It's, what are you going to do with the fear? What about, and I know we've spoken about this before, but like, what were you nervous to invest in yourself financially?
What about that piece of it made me nervous?
Were you nervous to invest in yourself?
Oh yeah, For sure. Because, we talk about the fear of success. Okay, so what if I'm successful and now all these people are looking at me like, oh, wow, she looks great. She's doing great. And now, oh, when's it going to drop? When's she going to fail? Like, those are the thoughts I'd put in my head.
How'd you overcome the fear of not getting a return on your investment, like that it would be a complete waste of your money? What did you do?
I had to change my mindset around it because I knew I couldn't continue on with what I was doing. I couldn't continue going down this path. It was ruining myself. It was ruining what I felt maybe my husband thought about me. And I had to change that thought process around it and not be afraid to try, and I know there's all that you try and you fail. Like, if you say you try, you're not going to try. But I knew I had to give it a go, and I had to push myself out of that comfort zone. And it wasn't failure if I did what I felt I needed to do. It wasn't failure to me because, like, I don't know how to say this. Like, I knew the information was solid from the mastery class. I knew that I needed that information to make a change. So to me, I couldn't fail at this because to me, it was growth and knowledge, and I could grow in myself in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what did you do at that point?
So I knew when you and I had the call, I wanted to do this. I was already set on that sense, but how was I going to tell my husband that I needed to spend this money and invest? So I may have skipped that step and just told him that I was investing in myself, but I didn't tell him how and why. So I use my personal credit card, and he doesn't know about it. And it's okay because I would not financially ever put us in trouble, but I knew I needed to do this. It was that important to me to take that step and use my card and pay it off. I do pay it off monthly. I'm on a monthly plan because I knew that's what I needed to do and it would work for me.
And that's courage in itself, because you value your health and you valued change and you trusted a process that is different from what you've done before. And, I talk about, we talk to women all the time in terms of like support from their spouses and having conversations with them. But sometimes maybe the conversation is just going to get, your balls spinning and your ball spinning, your wheels spinning. And then sometimes when we do try to ask somebody else's permission or their thought process, but they don't really understand what it is, you start to second guess yourself. And then could you imagine if you had then second guessed yourself and then you didn't come in and join us, and then all the fabulous successes that you've had wouldn't have happened. And we're going to talk about that. I just did, I think we had a video over here recently where I talked about my investment story and how had like my conversation with my spouse about my business investments and what would have happened and how I could have had better conversations around that. And had I not invested in myself, we all wouldn't be here right now. I'd probably still be stuck as a miserable trial attorney. And there would have been no Love Yourself Journey group. There would have been no LoYo Method group where we have helped hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of women. And that was a decision that I had to make because I had to take courage. I was scared and I just had to freaking do it. And if I started talking to my mom or started talking to like my dad or started talking to my husband or started talking to the people I do trust, somehow, some way they would have said something and I would have felt bad and I would have talked myself out of it. And I commend you. Like, you're not hiding, you're just advocating for yourself. And so sometimes that's going to happen. And I appreciate your honesty there because you're kind of laughing and it's uncomfortable, but like, there's an aspect of truth to that. I think that plenty of women can resonate with you.
Well, and two, I'm spending, so what it's costing me to pay monthly, I would be spending that on something else anyhow. You know what I mean? So it's cost, it can fit into my budget. I knew it could fit into my budget. So whether I'm spending it on a Starbucks coffee or a purse or whatever, or clothes or Amazon, like I'm still spending the money. And so I knew that, okay, by not buying the junk food, by not going out to dinner, I'm actually still saving money because I would have spent more doing that than what I am on this program. So I could justify that in my head because this was that important to me.
I love that. And I think that's important. This was that important. Your health and your life and your happiness and your confidence, what you value is important, right? It's why we do values work. Get clear on what are your priorities, what is important to you, what do you want out of the rest of your life? What do you want joy and happiness in life to look like for yourself? Okay, so we are almost out of time. Two more questions for you. One is, what are your successes? What is the result? What are you most proud of?
Yeah. So I would say for me, my confidence, I feel great. Like I said, I don't have the pain. I am, how old am I? 38. It's hard to remember sometimes. I'm 38 years old. I have 3 boys who keep me very busy. I wanted to be able to keep up with them, which I still have the goal to be able to run faster than my boys. So still working on that one, but
we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, just to feel stronger again and emotionally, mentally, just to have that strength again. If you would have looked at me in high school, you'd been like, man, she's confident, because I was almost like probably borderline cocky at that point. And it was so hard for me to feel like, where did that confident person go? Like, where did she go after I had kids? So just having that back again has been great. I feel good in my skin, which you asked me 12 weeks ago and I would have told you. So that's been huge for me. The mindset, I don't have any cravings anymore. I used to be a 3-cup-a-day coffee, actually we'll say creamer drinker. I really don't. It really doesn't even taste that great to me anymore. So the M&Ms are gone. There's probably still some in the pantry because I never probably finished the last one, but I'm definitely not digging into that like I was. I don't have the cravings. I'm really listening to my body. Like, am I hungry? And there'll be days where it's like I was just down by my parents and they don't necessarily eat the healthiest. And I was like, man, I am craving vegetables. Like, who does that?
You're not the first person who has told me that. Like, seriously, not the first person who has told me. That's amazing. You know what? I did have too much questions for you because I remember life was like really hairy for you. Maybe 5 weeks ago, busy week, you're a full-time mom, you work full-time, have other stuff on the side going on, plus your 3 kiddos, busy mama. How'd you do this program being a busy mama?
Yeah, so I struggled in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my gosh, like almost like feeling guilty, like, oh, I haven't had time to watch that or really put some thought into it. And then I very quickly realized, like, you need to make time, because I am habitual for putting myself on the back burner, and I was doing it again. I was still doing it, right? So I forget what lesson it is, but it really talks about like doing the things like the self-care and putting yourself first. And that's when it really resonated with me that I need to make time for myself. I need to make time. How much time do I spend scrolling Facebook, Instagram? And it's not even that I'm looking at it. It's just like something mindless. Like, so I started to look at the time management piece and I'm like, where am I wasting time and where am I allowing others to steal time? And I laid that out. I shared that with you. And I myself had self-discovery. I don't even know that you and I actually ever talked about it because I kind of moved right on because I was like, I see exactly where people are stealing my time. So I started to just carve out some time in my schedule for me. And maybe that looked like in the mornings before I got the kids up for school, and I'm not a morning person. But I knew it was that important for me. And what's 10 minutes? What's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to do 20 minutes tomorrow. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to do 30 minutes before bed. Like, it started to be easy for me to find time because the information was so good and so helpful that it was that important to me to put those other things on the back burner. I mean, I have wonderful in-laws, love them to death. We spend a lot of time with them. There's been multiple times now where I've said to my husband, like, you can go ahead and go to your parents and with the kids. I'm going to stay home and just have some time to myself. So I'm a yes person. I learned to be a yes person when it felt good versus an all the time yes person.
So true. I was actually at a presentation last night, giving a presentation last night, and beforehand we were talking about how to make time for exercise. And one of the women was a yoga instructor, and the other was a spin instructor. And she's like, I remember the days that I used to teach spin hour classes, or like yoga classes were like an hour long. She's like, you don't have to do that anymore. I can hop on my Peloton for 20 minutes and feel like I did a kick-ass workout and everything's great. And that's imperfect action. You can do a 5-minute yoga practice and feel really, really, really good. And so the same goes for anything that's important to you. Again, it just falls back to your priorities and what's important, because there is time. There are 168 hours in the week. It's where and how you craft that. And I love that we work on time management. You think, oh, weight loss, no, or emotional eating, what? Like, we do. And it's so important. That is an enormous stressor to help you then see the light to be able to implement these things in your life that will allow you to make changes.
And it's quality over quantity. Like, if I took a quality 10 minutes over doing it for an hour and staring at it and not, you know what I mean? So it's like, I started to carve out quality time, and 10 minutes was good in the beginning, and 20 minutes was good in the beginning. And now I try to spend at least 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night just decompressing. Like, it doesn't mean, it's just focusing on myself and listening to my body and what I need. And so, yeah.
Final question. So if you were speaking to a woman who is in your shoes, going through similar, challenges around yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, very busy lifestyle, someone in their late 30s, early 40s, perhaps, who is also a mom, like someone who's like yourself, give or take, what would you tell them right now if they're struggling?
I would tell them it's okay to put yourself first. And it's okay to be imperfect. You can still get results. Like, it doesn't have to be perfection all the time. I think a lot of people that run and have busy lives, it's like, okay, if it's not perfect, I can't do it. If I don't have enough time, I can't do it. If I can't spend a day on it, I can't do it. That's not what it has to be. And allow yourself to feel good.
I love it. Nikki, I could talk to you for hours. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for this wonderful, vulnerable, raw, emotional share. I so appreciate you. It is such a pleasure. And for anyone who has questions for Nikki, I'm sure she's more than happy to chat with you. I will tag her on this video here in Love Yourself Journey group. For anyone who wants, if you're watching this outside of Love Yourself Journey group, come join us in the Love Yourself Journey group. It's on Facebook. And you can find all of our client interviews and a lot more of our testimonials and our trainings and all sorts of things from, self-care, like Nikki mentioned, but also hormones and emotional eating and mindset work. And, we're over at facebook.com/groups/LoYo Wellness. Nikki, thank you so much. And we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.
For having me.